The Women's Royal Rumble is also happening at the big Royal Rumble 2023 premium live event this weekend, and we are here to talk about what we think could happen in that match, let alone on the show. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the BunkaMania Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am the giraffe of me, Jeremy Graves. With me, as always, is my tag team partner in crime. And as I said last time, if he's on the bloodline, he's my solo Sokoa being the bodyguard. He is the Dekker Day, Mr. Ian Bolton. How you doing, good sir?
I am doing great. It's Royal Rumble season and there's a rumble in the air.
If you want to hear our thoughts on the men's participation when it comes to the Royal Rumble match, check out our most recent video. We discuss all of that and potentially some random chicanery that may or may not occur during that match in that video. Today, as mentioned, we are focusing purely on what the women's Royal Rumble match may have to offer. Good sir, how are we going to do picks or prognostication for this particular edition of the show?
Let's do it as we've done for the men. So basically, we've got the person who we think is definitely going to win the Rumble. We've got the person who, if that definite pick doesn't come to fruition, if there's someone else on the roster that we feel probably might benefit or probably is a natural fit to win the Rumble, we can do that as well. And then we can do surprises and all that sort of stuff. Now, this one's a bit more of an open field because I'm looking at the WWE.com website listing for the Women's Rumble match and the Men's Rumble match. We've got Liv Morgan, we've got Raquel Rodriguez, we've got Rhea Ripley, we've got Candice LeRae, we've got Shayna Baszler, Zelina Vega, and a returning Emma. Other than that, no one else has been added, though I think there's going to probably be a few familiar names added on there. I mean, it's like, even though they haven't formally announced, I would be stunned if we don't see Bayley, we don't see Dakota Kai, Io Sky, we don't see Becky Lynch. I would be generally shocked if we don't see those names appear in there. Obviously, we've got some other names over from SmackDown. We haven't seen Shotzi on there yet. We've got Xia Li. We've got Lacey Evans, whatever her latest crazy military gimmick is supposed to be all about. Sonya Deville, all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like, I think more likely most of the current women's roster on the main roster is probably going to maybe fill up maybe again half to 2/3 of the Rumble. So there are spots still left field. So with that in mind, Jeremy, who do you think is an absolute dead cert to probably win this Rumble this year?
Before I get immediately into that, I will just quickly add that Bianca and Alexa Bliss more than likely will not be in the match because they are involved in the Raw Women's Championship match. So just throwing out those two names immediately.
Yeah, also Charlotte is now SmackDown Women's Champion, so she might, unlikely. Again, it's very unlikely we will see Charlotte probably in the Rumble. I mean, she tried to do it as a champion last year. I'd be really confused if they try and do the same storyline again. I think she's in a feud with Sonya Deville. If anything, they might have a match of some description at the Rumble, but I would not be surprised if it doesn't take part. I think at the moment, we've got both Rumbles. We've got the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. We've got the Raw Women's Championship and the Pitch Black match. So there's only 5 matches so far on this card. You never know, there might be 6, but we'll see.
And to be fair, that amount of matches for the show is pretty standard at this point. The Rumble is generally one of the lower quantity matches because of the quantity of time the matches on the show take up. I got out of that rabbit hole there somehow. But on to the point at hand. My pick based on who has been announced. I'm just going to call it like it is, Rhea Ripley. I think Rhea's awesome. I love the presentation. The character is wonderful. She is a great dastardly heel, quite frankly, and the way that she's influenced Dominic and stuff has been freaking fantastic. And with the potential match being either her versus Alexa or her versus Bianca Belair, assuming she were to choose to compete for the Raw Women's Championship, because I'm pretty sure you can vote for either, quite frankly. I think all the possibilities lend itself to be a really good match for WrestleMania with Rhea Ripley in that slot. Heck, we got Rhea versus Charlotte at the Lockdown Mania in 2020. It would be cool to actually see that match at a Mania with a crowd, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think at the moment, I can't envision anyone else other than Rhea winning the Rumble this year. I think the fact that she's very popular with audiences, she's doing very well in the Judgment Day. I think this is peak Rhea Ripley now. So it's like, if you're really going to go all in and make her this monster heel, monster female heel powerhouse, equivalent to China, that sort of stuff. I think this is the moment you pull the trigger. I think she's had matches with Flair before, and I mean we covered the nonsensical Hell in a Cell for one of our very very first BunkaManias many months ago, and that is like, as it was a decent match, but it ended very sillily, and I can imagine stupid storyline bollocks going on with the Charlotte Flair story. So I'm more excited by Rhea versus Bianca than I am Rhea versus Charlotte, to be honest. And I think Rhea and Bianca could put on a really, really good match, and I think it will probably be a show stealer as well if they do it. But yeah, at the moment, I can't see. I know we're going to come up. We're going to probably mention another wrestler too that we think could possibly win, but I think, and this is probably, it's not necessarily a total disservice to how the storylines are going at the moment. There are storylines going on in the women's division on WWE, but there's nothing that's so clear cut that necessarily demands a belt or needs a belt attached, or feels like if this is for a belt, this would mean a big thing. I think for me, in terms of a championship match or terms of a build for a storyline, nothing is more interesting or kind of dream match material like Rhea versus Bianca. They were supposed to do this at Money in the Bank, I think, last year, and it
Oh,
didn't
and
come
then
to
Rhea was
fruition.
out for a little bit, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was out. She was out injured, and that didn't happen. And they still haven't gone to that match. So the fact is, it hasn't properly happened yet. Means, well, hopefully this means it will be special when it happens. And if this could happen at Mania, I think it will be a very good match.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very good shout there, to say the least. So with that being said, then let's move on to our next category, good sir. So remind me, how does this one break down?
So basically, we are looking at other potential winners that would be interesting to see from the current roster. So even though they haven't announced yet, if we feel that they're likely getting involved and we'd like to see them win a Rumble, then we can do, and then we can do so. So I mean, from the 7 that have announced, I mean, I think it might be a bit too early to go back to the Liv Morgan storyline. Well, per se, I think she had a it was an okay title run. It wasn't brilliant. It kind of floundered rather than kind of soared at times after the title win. But I think that's more to do with how they booked her against Ronda rather than her as a performer or anything like that, because she really earned the fans' attention and support during the first half of last year, especially in matches like Day One against Becky and stuff like that. So yeah, I as much as I don't mind Liv, I can't see her winning this one. I think the only, from a storyline perspective, from like a build perspective, and this only makes sense, and I think it would have only made sense if Ronda was still the SmackDown Women's Champion, and that is Raquel Rodriguez, because they have been doing a story. They have been doing like a Ronda Shayna versus Raquel storyline for the last couple of weeks, all the way up until Ronda just lost her title to Charlotte. And I think if you wanted to try and really pull the trigger on Raquel, you could do that. Fan support is not necessarily on the same level as, say, someone like Liv Morgan is. It is getting there. It's getting there, and it's improving. And I think eventually Raquel will have a moment. I don't think it's going to be in the Rumble, though. But again, she could be a winner. She could be a surprise winner. I think because majority of the 4 horsewomen have kind of won. You could pull the trigger on Bayley winning the Rumble and setting up Bayley versus Charlotte. You could do that. It might be a bit more fun, a bit more different. I mean, this is a dark horse. This is a dark horse. She's still on the roster, but we haven't seen her in a while, and that's Asuka. Asuka
one of my
might be
picks.
a good shout, because I think she might be going through some sort of character metamorphosis, kind of like similar to her Kana character in over in maybe Stardom or something like that. Do correct me if I'm wrong there, Jeremy. But it's like,
full disclosure, I've never really indulged in Stardom, as it were. I've not seen much, so I can't comment. But to add to what you said, though, as it were, to actually back you up here, on her own YouTube channel, like Kana-chan TV, I think it is, she's been in Japan recently and has kind of done the titles of videos alluding to needing to find herself.
Yeah, because I think there is a character change coming for Oscar, and I think if you're going to debut it, it would be a great surprise to do it at the Rumble, and maybe again she can win the Rumble and take on Flair again and actually win this time against Flair instead of have her streak end at the hands of Flair. Um, or again against Bianca, because I think Bianca and Oscar, I think they've had a couple of matches, but it'd be a different dynamic per se. So yeah, I would say out of the wrestlers I've mentioned, I'd say a decent alternate choice. And if they do go through with it, I think Oscar would be a good one.
So on her YouTube channel, I'm just here now. So a month ago, she uploaded a video saying, "I'm going to Japan to look for something I forgot." That was the name of the video. Then 3 weeks ago, it was her in Tokyo. Well, the thumbnail is anyway, and the title is "I Still Can't Find What I Left Behind." And then she uploaded another one about 11 days ago. That title's very much more, I'll just call it listicle, in the sense it just says Kyoto, Nijo Castle, Arashiyama, Sagano Trolley, Ponto Cho. So it sounds like she's going around like different areas, as it were. But it does sound like she's kind of subtly been on a little bit of a journey to kind of find something that she
Mm.
maybe feels like she's lost or left behind. So like you said, that lends credence to maybe there being some kind of character metamorphosis, which was partly why I was also going to pick Oscar as one of the picks. So good job, sir.
Here's a curveball, and it's kind of clocked in. I think there is a potential reason Rhea Ripley might not win the Royal Rumble, and that has something to do with a certain thing she did at Extreme Rules last year, in terms of delivering a concerto to Beth Phoenix. So I would not be surprised if Beth Phoenix returns and costs Rhea the Rumble. It's very plausible. It's a very it's a very typical WWE thing of basically we're going to push this potential heel, but oh wait, we're going to just quickly go back to the storyline which still hasn't finished yet. I mean, if it leads to a singles match, it'll be fun, which Rhea would probably win, to be honest. But I think if anything's going to hold off Rhea winning a Rumble, it's going to be Beth Phoenix. So expect to see Beth Phoenix in some shape or form. Maybe Beth Phoenix turns up after the Rumble victory.
I will say, to double back one category, just to kind of elaborate on a couple other thoughts, I really don't want it to happen, but I think a very obvious thing would be for Ronda to come in and win and then basically demand a rematch. But I really don't want that, but it feels like a very WWE thing to do. Another thing, so I haven't watched much WWE recently, so I don't know where she's been at, but what about Becky Lynch?
She is currently in a feud with Bailey at the moment, and that's had a bit of promise. That was the kind of weird promise of a cage match, which didn't kind of come to fruition on Raw is 30 this week due to time constraints and so forth. So that was a bit weird, but I still think we'll see Becky Lynch in the Rumble. I don't think Becky Lynch will win it. As much as she is a crowd favorite, as I think storyline, there isn't really much going on really for Becky other than kind of just having like a, I wouldn't say filler feud, but kind of like a secondary feud against Bailey for now, maybe.
So when it comes to other potential surprises and whatnot, you're kind of doing a number on my picks here, because Beth was also probably going to be one of the people I was going to say. But in terms of trying to think farther afield, obviously the water has arguably been a bit muddied now that Vince is back in the company at the very top of it. But it makes me wonder if there might be some other people from the outside. Like, could Mickie James make another random appearance in a Rumble, for example? Because she did one year when she was Knockouts champion.
Yeah, I can definitely see Mickie James turning up again, especially as she's just regained the Knockouts championship. It's like it's a WWE legend and someone who is an absolute cert to be a Hall of Fame the moment her career winds up. Considering she's technically, I think, on the farewell tour, there's every chance she's turning up in this Rumble. And yeah, I think we'll see. I think again we'll still see some familiar faces. I mean, we're going to probably see a Lita or a Trish. Probably Lita, more likely Lita, I suppose.
So as a bit of a random pick here, and I'm saying this more from the perspective of how infrequently we've seen them wrestle, but it would certainly be a surprising thing. And they are on the main roster, as it were, but they've not wrestled very much and infrequently, as I say. But it wouldn't surprise me if Scarlett makes an appearance in this Rumble. And I think it would be her first Rumble, if memory serves as well.
Yeah, it will be. I think it links into the storyline she's currently involved with Emma, because there was the side story of WWE using Emma's actual relationship with Madcap Moss in a feud with Karrion Kross and Scarlett, which is kind of like a very side feud to the fact that Karrion Kross has targeted Rey Mysterio at the moment. So I think there may be a bit more to the storyline there. So I think you're right. We might definitely see Scarlett turn up in the Rumble for a little bit. Not too much of an impact, but more to kind of maybe deal with Emma per se.
In terms of other potential non-contracted people, admittedly, I'm drawing a bit of a blank. Not out of necessity by any means. It's just that thing of, we've kind of mentioned, for want of a better word, the regular players you would see, like the Lita, the Trish, for example. So it's just trying to think, who else could they bring in? And I don't want to say who would have an impact, and I'm not me trying to imply TNA or anything there, or Impact Wrestling, sorry. But just in general, like, who would, I mean, obviously there may be some NXT talent involved. We've seen that time and again where NXT wrestlers get the opportunity to be in there. Heck, assuming that they're not currently injured, because I don't watch NXT, but for example, Zoe Stark is a name that comes to mind, who I think could actually have a pretty good run in a Rumble match, given their general stature and whatnot, like physically. I think that could work really well as a potential person to be involved. But in terms of a legend, I'm drawing blanks at the moment as to who else there might be. I might have to do a bit more looking through on WWE's website just to kind of see if there's another name that pops out. Heck, I would love to see Meiko Satomura. I'll add that before I let you speak. Meiko Satomura. I want Meiko Satomura in the Rumble. There you go.
I think the nice thing to say about this is basically, because there's no a lot of certs for the Rumble right now. I mean, we've got a list of 7 already on the WWE website at the time of recording. That list is probably going to go up to maybe 12. So again, we're the same with the men's. We have half the field. So maybe there's a surprise or two, a big surprise or two in line, but we'll have to see. I mean, I think I'm going in with slightly low expectations for this match, simply because I think some of the storylines around it haven't necessarily been strong enough. But that gives the Rumble plenty of opportunity to surprise and be entertaining.
Exactly what I was going to say. I think because of the low expectation, it leads you more to just take it for what it is and just be in the moment, as opposed to be expecting certain things. And chances are, because full disclosure, folks, we're recording this on Tuesday, the 24th of January. So chances are, after NXT tonight, there could already well be more names announced, which very convenient if that happens. But it's just the way it is. And admittedly, I've said it before, I don't get a chance to watch WWE programming regularly. Otherwise, I might have been able to think of some more names off the top of my head. So apologies if some of my thinking came across as very simple or perhaps absent-minded. It was not my intention at all. But that's where things are at, in a way. The mystery intrigue. And I think that's going to be a key thing with this Rumble match more than the men's match, is like you've already just alluded to, and I've just repeated, there is that element of who else could be in it. And that's what this video has summed up more than anything, is who else could be in it that we've not thought of? There could literally be more signees we just are not aware of. And that would be fascinating if that were to happen.
I think there's potential for a very good women's Rumble, and I think the low expectations are helping. And again, it's not a negative thing saying, "Oh, this Rumble isn't going to be good." I think the fact of the matter is, this is the first 2 Rumbles under Triple H. There's potential. There's potential to be pleasantly surprised, and I'm very optimistic about this one and the men's.
Well, on that note, folks, I think we are going to wrap it up here for today. So thank you very much for watching. And as mentioned at the top of the show, if you want to hear our thoughts on the men's side of things when it comes to the Royal Rumble match, make sure you check out that video right now. You can watch that and enjoy accordingly. We're going to be back, well, at the time we're recording, like we said, this is before the Rumble's taken place. So the Rumble takes place this Saturday. And we're going to be back next week. All going well, I'm going to throw out a day, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, sir. Let's say Wednesday, the 1st of February.
That sounds like a date.
We'll be back on that evening. Stay tuned for details on the time. There will be sort of the upcoming stream thing on YouTube, as it were, so you can keep an eye on that. But make sure you're subscribed, and you'll be able to see that accordingly. Probably assume like maybe around 8 p.m. GMT or so, if not a bit earlier. It'll be one or the other. But thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below as to whether you think we are being wonderful prognosticators or complete and utter buffoons. I will quite happily accept if you think I am the latter, because quite frankly, might be fairly true. But good sir, if people want to reach out to us via email, how can they do that?
Well, they can send an email all the way over the top rope to bunkamania@bunkerzilla.co.uk. Send us your thoughts about the Rumbles. Even if you're watching this just before the event starts, let us know what you think after the event. We might read out some stuff during the live stream coming up with the review.
Indeed, as we mentioned, the evening of Wednesday, the 1st of February, UK time. That will be our first live stream of the year, won't it? Come to think of it.
Yeah, I think it will be. Yeah, it'll be nice to do some live stuff.
Indeed, so we'll be talking about the Rumble and the entire show, we should say, on that program, and likely some other bits and bobs of news and notes that have occurred elsewhere as well. So from myself, the Giraffe, me, Jeremy Graves, from him, the Dekker Dane, Mr. Ian Bolton, thank you very much for watching, and until then, enjoy the Rumble.